Welcome back to the Out of Bounds podcast. I am Charlie Caleri alongside
Gavin Williams.
And today we have another predictions episode. This time, NHL.
Let's switch it up.
And we're doing the whole playoffs this time, not just the first round like we did for NBA. We felt like doing the NHL all in one foul swoop was going to be a better choice than just doing the first round.
Yeah, if we did just the first round, I feel like there's not enough to cover.
No, just because the NHL and the Stanley Cup playoffs are so jam-packed, I feel like after each series everything's changes so much, and it'd be a lot to keep up with, especially because the Stanley Cup playoffs are known for the upsets. So
absolutely,
all these predictions could be wrong.
I mean, every lower seed could win.
Easily.
That's in every tournament though.
But
in the Stanley Cup, I feel like it's more prevalent for the lower seed to go against adversity, come out on top, whether it's in 4 or 7.
Yeah, especially in the NHL. I mean, anything can happen in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So we're going to get it kicked off on the Western side of things, actually.
Western Conference, let's go.
First round matchup, we got the number 1 seed in the Central, the Colorado Avalanche, versus the first wild card, the Seattle Kraken. Gavin, what do you got?
I don't really like this matchup. I mean, I like the Kraken. I root for them because there's a new team in the league. They're the little brother, but too much experience. I mean, they're coming off a cup win. I like this series for the Avs. Very favorable, and I think I have them in 4 games.
Really? I got the Avs in 6.
Wow.
And I think that the Kraken, it's going to be their first time playing in the playoffs in their franchise's existence, which I know is only 2 years, but still.
Still pretty impressive, though.
And their fans have shown up the whole year. They got a really good fan base up in Seattle. I think better than what the NHL was expecting for attendance numbers there. I mean, they're over 100% every game in Seattle. So I feel like games 3 and 4 are going to be really exciting to watch, especially in a new atmosphere in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't really think about that, but that's also, when you said it was their second year, I think that's immediately what I look for when it comes to experience in the playoffs, because some guys on their team have experience, but they don't have experience together. And they don't have the chemistry that I think that the Avalanche have to dominate the series. And depending on how that crowd shows up, and it should be good, I still think the Avs take it in 4.
Yeah, and I mean, it could easily be a 4-game series. It could easily be a 7-game series, especially with the reigning Stanley Cup champions playing in this series. But I think that Seattle can somehow get 2 games out of it because they play pretty good games all year against each other. So I feel like Seattle's a gritty enough team to where they can grind out 2 wins.
All right, yeah. So the next series we have 2 and 3 of the Central. It is the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. Charlie, who you got here?
I have Stars in 6.
Okay.
And I really went back and forth on Stars in 6, Stars in 7, Wild in 6, Wild in 7.
This is a tough one.
This is a really good series, I think. But ultimately, I think the Stars have just too much offensive star power on their team.
Okay.
Especially towards the end of the year, they were kind of ramping up the goals. I think they finished top 5 in goals for this season. The Wild had a lot of moving pieces this year, a lot of guys going in and out. So I don't know if the team chemistry is there quite like the Stars, but the Stars are due for, I think, a good run in the playoffs.
I could see that, but along what you were saying about bouncing between who can win, who's not going to win, I have the Wild in 7, and I think that this Wild team is, I think, the hungriest Wild team I've ever watched.
Yeah, I agree.
And if there's one man on that team I think that wants it most, it's Matt Zuccarello, baby.
Yeah, and you love Matt Zuccarello from the Rangers, but I think that Kirill Kaprizov really wants to maybe make a mark on the league. I feel like he's been, ever since his insane rookie season, I feel like he's kind of flown under the radar. He's still a really good player. I mean, he's scoring in the top, 10% of the league. And he's not really getting a ton of recognition compared to some of the other guys in the league, like Jason Robertson on the Stars or some of those guys that they have.
Absolutely. But I think this is either a 6 or 7 game series. I don't see anybody winning it within 5.
There's no way. I don't think so.
This is too good of a series. Get your popcorn ready because this is going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. The next one we got also could be a really good one.
Has potential.
Depending on, in my opinion, one player. It's Golden Knights versus Winnipeg Jets. And I think that the one player that could really dictate the series is obviously Connor Hellebuck.
Absolutely.
The goalie for the Winnipeg Jets. If he is on his A game, the Jets could win this series. But I have the Golden Knights in 6. I think that ultimately they're star power is going to override the one-man show in Kyler Hellebuck. Not saying that the Jets are a one-man show because their offense is really good. Kyle Connor's really good. Even their defenseman with John Morrissey back there, they have a really good offensive team, but I don't think that they can really withstand the pressure that Vegas gives on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with the number in Vegas. So Vegas and 6, I'm going to completely agree with that. But I think what happens in this series is I think Vegas wins the first 2 at home, but they lose the next 2 away because of Connor Hellebuck and how he can perform at home. Connor Hellebuck, I mean, he's a Vezina Trophy winner. I mean, he has the experience, I think, not necessarily in the playoffs as much as some of these other guys on the Knights, but I think that Connor Hellebuck, he could squeeze out 2 wins here. I think if he,
totally
like you said, if he's on his A game, if he's on his A+ game, he might be able to squeeze out 3.
He might be able to win the series for them single-handedly. We've seen it before. Goalies take over a series, and
absolutely,
those are sometimes the best series because it's kind of like this team is doing everything they can. They just can't get it by this guy. I mean, Vasilevsky a few years ago with the Lightning just took over in the playoffs for both of their cup runs. So
yeah,
it could easily turn like that for the Jets, and I think the series is going to be better than I think people expect it to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think of Connor Hellebuck, you put him in the category alongside Vasilevsky, Igor Shesterkin, and I think those are probably the 3 goalies that you have to look out for, and especially Connor Hellebuck in this one.
Yep.
So for the last series in the West, for the first round, we have the number 2 seed in the Pacific, the Oilers, and we have the number 3 seed, the Kings. Who do you got, Charles?
I have Oilers in 5. I don't think that the Kings have enough. I don't think they have enough playoff experience on their team, and that sounds kind of weird because they have guys that have won 2 cups on their team still, like Drew Doughty, like Anze Kopitar. But there's a lot of guys that haven't been in the playoffs at all. The Oilers made it to the conference final last year, played really well against the Avalanche, just came up just short to Colorado on their cup run. But I think that this is a year that the Oilers can really make a run in the playoffs, especially with the insane season that Connor McDavid is having. I don't even think insane is the right word to describe it. I don't really think there is a word to describe the season that he's having.
Godly.
It's, godly. I mean, him and Draisaitl are just unreal. I mean, they score at insane rates, like better than we have ever seen before in the NHL.
You never see a 1-2 like that.
No.
Scoring that many goals and having that many points total.
I mean,
it's insane.
It's insane.
So for this series, I'm also going to have the Oilers in 5. I don't think that the Kings can keep up with the fast-paced Oilers. But here's the thing about the Oilers. I mean, I know they went to the conference final, but I think the team is relying on 2 guys. So I have them winning in this series, but we'll see what I have them going in the next one. But I think this team has a lot of guys who can't really make up for when both Draisaitl and McDavid are on the bench. I don't think their depth is good enough, but I do have them winning the series.
Yeah, and I think their depth might be a little bit better than last year, but I think that's why I'm very high in the Oilers right now. But going back to Connor McDavid, 153 points this season.
Yeah,
he had 89 assists, and that's 89 assists is probably more than people have points
in the league.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So even just his assist numbers are crazy. But adding in the 64 goals that he had in 82 games. I mean, he played every game this season.
That's insane.
You don't see that a lot from stars, and I think that if, knock on wood, I don't want him to go down with an injury, but if he does, I don't think that the Oilers can really compete in any series,
he's
even if it's against the Kings.
He is carrying them at the end of the day.
Yeah, and if he's healthy and he's on his A game, they could easily win the Cup. I mean, simple as that.
I agree. So moving on to the Eastern Conference first round. Number 1 seed, the Bruins, the historical season they just had.
Great season from the Bruins so far.
Against the second wild card, and it's going to be the Florida Panthers.
This could have easily been the Buffalo Sabres, but I think we're going to steer clear of that right now. Look out for us next year. I got Bruins in 5. I think the Panthers might be able to steal a game. I think I was kind of being generous with Bruins in 5, but this could easily be a sweep. I don't see the Panthers winning 2 games. I think that the Bruins, after this series, will have way more trouble.
I agree, 100%.
But the Panthers are still a really good team. Last year, they were the first seed in the Atlantic. So still in the same kind of matchup they were last year, just on the flip side of it, on the wild card too. So it's going to be interesting to see how they perform with their backs up against the wall.
Yeah, I agree. I also have Boston in 5. The only reason why I have Florida getting a game out of this is because of the Kachuk brothers.
Yeah.
I think they're the only reason why they could get a game out of this. But, kind of like I was saying about the Oilers, the depth on this team last year, I think, played a lot better than they did this year. And I don't think they have what it takes to beat the Bruins. I think the Bruins have great playoff experience on their team. I think the one hole that they might have that doesn't have the greatest playoff experience is Allmark.
Yeah.
But he is in the Vezina Trophy.
He's going to
he will be
this year. But I think that's a great point, is that the experience for the Bruins, I think, outlasts any team that's in the playoffs right now, maybe other than the Avalanche and Tampa.
Yeah, just because of their cup experience.
The guys that the Bruins have been in the playoffs. This is their 7th straight year in the playoffs. They've came up short. They're hungry. They know this is maybe their last chance to really make a cup run. So I think guys like Bergeron and Marchand, they're really
too.
They're really getting on their team, saying this is our last shot for us. You guys might have more, but we need everything out of you guys for us this series and in this whole playoffs.
Absolutely.
So next series that we got, and this might be the best series in the first round.
I agree.
The Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. You got two star-studded teams going at it in the Atlantic Division. Gavin, what do you got?
For the first time in a decade, I have the Toronto Maple Leafs moving on in the series. This one was really hard for me to put together. I have Toronto in 7, but this can easily be Lightning in 7. It could be Lightning in 4 because of their experience, but I think Toronto has gone through so many bumps and bruises that they're going to make it over the hump, and they're going to make it out of the first round. And, if you're Ian Kennedy, you're loving me saying this right now. So
yeah, Ian, and we shouted you out a few times on the podcast, but I think that I also have Maple Leafs in 7. I think that this is a year that they could really, like the Oilers, make a run. They've been coming up short in Game 7s for how many years now? So I think that this is a year where the Lightning are a little bit weakened compared to the last few years.
The Leafs are younger at this point.
The Leafs are younger, and I think that's maybe going to carry them a little bit in this year.
Too.
I think that they can. I think that the Leafs' pace can kind of overpower what the Lightning have right now, because their Lightning are kind of an older team, getting out there. They're going to be on the way down, I think, next year, and I think that if they get past the Leafs, there's a good chance that they could make a run, because the Leafs are one of the better teams in the playoffs right now. But getting past the Leafs is going to be a problem in and of itself. So getting past them is step one. I think that they don't do it this year. I think it's an early exit for the Lightning. I think the Leafs win it in 7.
I like that point, and I also, when I think about the Lightning, you think about Steven Stamkos, you think about the older guys who have been there, done that. And I think a really key part of that team that brought them to where they were last year was the defense. And I think the big loss in Ryan McDonough, he was their alternate captain right there. So
yeah, you love McDonough.
Oh, I love my man.
Former
McDonough.
Ranger
legend. McDonough. He was the last man to wear the C before Trouba had it. So
getting on to a few of the Rangers' rivals.
Let's go. Bring it on.
The Hurricanes and the Islanders. And this is a series that I don't think will be very eventful. I have Hurricanes in 4.
I also do.
I could see the Islanders maybe winning a game. I think this is kind of like a Bruins-Panthers situation where the Hurricanes are just so good, and they have a lot of firepower on their team all over the board. And the Islanders, I think they're such a defensive team that I don't think they'll be able to get anything going offensively. I think that they have less than 10 goals in the whole series.
I like that point because I really like Sebastian Aho taking over this series. I think this is
Which one? The one of the Islanders or the one of the Hurricanes?
One of the Hurricanes, obviously. I see him having maybe 6 goals this series. Wow. I think this is his series. I think the Canes went out last year. They were mad. This is kind of like their revenge tour because they went out in the Eastern semis last year. But I think this is a great momentum boost for this Hurricane team.
Definitely could be. And
absolutely.
This is another team that has come up short in the last few years, just like Toronto in the first round and just like the Oilers last year.
Yeah.
I think that the Hurricanes could easily make a run at the Cup, but, like we said before, it starts with this team. Don't count the Islanders out. Still got Ilya Sorokin, great goalie back there, but I don't think that he can really do enough in this series.
Yeah, he can't keep up with this firepower.
To keep up with the Hurricanes. So
moving on to the last series. Oh, get your popcorn ready.
This is going to be a good one.
Get your popcorn, get your favorite beverage, get on the couch and watch all 7 games of this, or 6. Because I have the Rangers beating the Devils in 6, 2-3 seed. Rangers ended at Madison Square Garden.
I have Rangers in 7. I think that this series is going to be back and forth. I wouldn't be surprised if, honestly, it literally goes back and forth. Rangers win, Devils win, Rangers win, Devils win, so on and so forth. I mean, it could easily go to 7 games.
Easily.
Probably will go to 6 at least.
Yeah.
The Devils, I mean, they're a young team too, though. So I think that the Rangers' experience ultimately will get them past, and I think that Shesterkin has a really good series, even against that really good Devils offense that's been clicking on all cylinders so far this year.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the Devils, this is like a newer team to the playoffs in a couple years.
Yeah.
I think the Devils had that drought where they didn't get anywhere. They got Jack Hughes. Now they're trying to build around him.
Yep.
I like that the Devils are back in the playoffs, especially against the Rangers, because that rivalry, there's going to be some fights. There's going to be some chippiness. But I think that the midseason transactions that the Rangers pulled this year, I like Vladimir Tarasenko. I like Patrick Kane. I really like this Rangers team. And I think bringing in 2 cup winners to a team that's cup hungry, I think that's what can definitely bring it over a great series like this one.
And I think what's so great about these first-round series is that you see in most of them, it's a big rivalry. Like Rangers-Devils might be one of the best rivalries in the league.
Yeah.
Toronto and Tampa have met a few times. That's definitely going to be a rivalry. Even in the West, you got like Golden Knights-Jets played in the Western Conference Final when Vegas went to the final. So they have experience against each other. Stars-Wilds, chippy series. I know those teams don't really care for each other, especially because Dallas took the Minnesota team back when they were the North Stars. So
some old beef.
A lot of storylines in this first round. And I think that it's going to be a really good first round overall.
Absolutely. So rounding up the first round, going back to the West, I have the Avs in 4 against the Kraken.
I have Avs in 6.
And for the Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild, I have the Wild in 7.
I have Stars in 6.
Vegas versus Winnipeg, and I have Vegas in 6.
I also have Vegas in 6.
And then Oilers Kings, I have Oilers in 5.
I also have Oilers in 5.
Some similarities right here.
A lot of similarities.
Bruins and Panthers, I have Bruins in 5.
I also have Bruins in 5.
Toronto,
3 in a row.
Toronto and Tampa, I got Toronto in 7.
4 in a row. Toronto in 7.
Carolina over the Islanders in 4.
5 in a row. Hurricanes in 5. Or Hurricanes in 4, sorry.
And then Rangers over Devils in 6.
I have Rangers in 7, so a little bit different there. But there's only one series I think we disagreed on. It was the Wild Stars, correct? So
correct.
I think a lot of these series, and we're saying this now, it could easily be totally wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Stanley Cup playoffs, like we said before, there's no for the upsets. You never know. So
it's kind of like a March Madness vibe where anybody can win any game.
Exactly, and I think that's what's so great. I think it's one of the greatest playoffs in sports. I mean, it's definitely top 3 in my opinion, but I think that could definitely be an episode for another day.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Before we get to our second round predictions, we're going to go back through the first round and give a little bit of some categories about these first round matchups. So, Gavin, I want to hear your dark horse team that you don't have winning in the first round, but you think could easily win the round.
I think not easily for this first round team, but I think the Winnipeg Jets is my dark horse because I think with Connor Hellebuyck, obviously, and Kyle O'Connor, watch out for those 2 guys in this series.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. We talked a lot about Hellebuyck and how I think he can steal the series, but mine might be a little bit shocking. I have the Seattle Kraken.
Wow.
I think that the atmosphere in Seattle could single-handedly push them through to the second round, especially against a banged-up Avalanche team right now. You see a lot of times where reigning Stanley Cup champions fall short because maybe they have, like, oh, we're going to just get back there
Too much of a
mentality.
Yeah,
they're kind of, they think that they're above everybody. When it's the playoffs, it's a new schedule. It's a new season. It's a new everything.
Absolutely.
You got to be on your A game from day one. You can't be kind of dragging a little bit. And I think that the Kraken could take advantage of that a little bit because of their, they're a fun team. They're a fun franchise so far. So I think that going up against the Avalanche, this could be a really good series to have an upset in.
I could see that happening. So for our next category, we have most exciting first round series. Now, Charles, I want to hear what you have to say here.
I have the Rangers and Devils.
Absolutely.
I think that this series is going to go the distance, and I think that the Hurricanes are going to have a tough test in round 2 against either of these teams. So it's going to be back-to-back tough series for whoever wins the series.
I agree.
I think that could ultimately propel them past the Hurricanes.
Maybe even to the finals.
Maybe even into the finals. So it's going to be a great series. Gavin, what's your most exciting first-round series?
Oh, I'm going to keep it in the East with this one. I think Toronto versus Tampa is one that I think people will be talking about in a couple of years. I'll remember that Toronto-Tampa series.
That first-round series, yeah. Really good. Yeah.
I don't know. I think the reason why everybody's going to be talking about it is because I think Toronto can come out of this. But I think if Toronto doesn't come out of this, it's not a shocker as well. I think there's no clear favorite for this series. I think this one could definitely go 7 games.
Easily. Final category we got for the first round, underrated first-round series.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to bring it back to my dark horse team. I'm going to say Vegas versus the Jets. I think this could be underrated because the Jets are a wild card, and I think the Jets can shock a lot of people. So I'm going to say Vegas versus the Jets.
I like that one. I'm going to put Dallas versus Minnesota. I think that this series could easily go 7 games. And like I said, Gavin's got Wild winning. I have the Stars winning. It could be either one. I think this is the biggest toss-up. And I think that it's underrated because I feel like a lot of people are looking at the Oilers.
Yeah.
You know, the Avs are the reigning champs. Or they're just going straight over to the East and looking at Toronto, Tampa, you know, the Bruins, the great season that they're having. And they're kind of overlooking these two teams. I think it's going to be a better series than people will lead on. And I think that the Stars are going to come out on top. It could easily be the Wild.
I agree.
And it could easily – I think it's going to go 6 or 7 games for sure.
That one's gonna be a really good series. Yeah. So going on to our second round predictions. In the West, I have the Avs versus the Wild, and I have the Avs in 6. I don't think this is an easy test for the Avs. I think dealing with some experience on Minnesota, but they have too much experience to mess this series up. I have them going back to the Western Conference Finals once again.
And I have Avalanche versus Stars. I actually have the Stars in 7 here.
Wow.
I think that the Avalanche get out. I think we're going to see a new champion this year. And I think the Stars could easily be a team, like I said, that makes a run because I don't think people are really looking at them right now. They started up the season hot. They've been hot like the whole second half. So I don't know why there's not more buzz around the Stars team, but I think they could easily take over the Avalanche in a 7-game series.
I can absolutely see that one. Going down to the other side of the Western semis, I think we both have Vegas and Oilers, right?
Yeah.
So in this series, this is where I'm saying that I think Connor McDavid might be like the next Ovechkin who might not get that ring until very late in his career or might not get one at all. That's my very hot take. I don't think that Connor McDavid ever wins a ring.
Really?
I am serious about that.
Wow.
And I have Vegas in 5.
I have Oilers in 6.
Okay.
And I think on the flip side, I think that McDavid's kind of going to be more like Crosby.
Oh, wow.
Where he wins 1 and then he'll end up with 3. I think this could definitely be a year for them. I don't love Vegas. Don't like Jack Eichel. I don't really like that whole team. So it's really easy for me to pick against them. Not saying that they're not a great team because I think they are, but I think that the McDavid and Draisaitl show is just going to overtake them.
That's why I'm going to say it's the opposite, and the two-man show cannot lead past.
It could easily be that. It could easily be that.
Absolutely.
It's just I think that right now McDavid's just going to keep it going. I don't see him stopping.
So going on to the eastern side in the semis, I think we both have Boston and Toronto.
Yeah.
And in this one, I have Toronto in 6 games.
Really?
Absolutely.
I have Bruins in 6, so we're flipping everything now. We've gotten everything different. I have the Bruins just because of the experience. Other than that, I think that this series could, easily go Toronto's way.
Yeah.
If they get there. It's still got to play Tampa, but Toronto's a really good team, and but I think that the Bruins, their experience, it's going to kind of will them a little bit more past Toronto in this series.
I think the reason why I have Toronto winning this series is just because I don't think a team can get that hot at the end of the Well, the whole season they were just hot. They were never slowed down. It's got to burn out at some point.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go against this hungry, very hungry Toronto team.
They want to win.
And I really think that the President's curse is coming right back, and I think Toronto is beating Boston in 6 games. In Toronto, I think they're going to wrap it up at home, and that the boys are going to be buzzing there. The boys
will the boys be buzzing in Toronto?
I think the boys will be buzzing in Toronto in the Western semis.
I hope so. That crowd and that fan base is electric, and they're very passionate about the Leafs. So I think that it could easily go both ways. Next series, we both have Hurricanes Rangers, correct?
Yep, we do.
This might be one that I think we agree on. I have Rangers in 7.
I also have Rangers in 7.
I have the Rangers winning back-to-back Game 7s to start the playoffs.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a really tired team going up against the Canes, who I have in a sweep. So I think that the Rangers are going to fall down early in the series, but then have to battle back. Maybe win 4 out of 5 to end the series. I think the Hurricanes might win the first 2.
Okay.
I think the Rangers maybe come back, win the next 2 at home, and then they go back and forth in games 5, 6, and 7.
In this series, I could see 2 splits right in a row. It's going to go 2-2 to Game 5.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the Rangers are going to pull up, and I don't think they will win in Carolina the first time. They go back to the Garden, tie it up, finish it off in Carolina.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be a really good series that those two teams face off, especially because the Rangers have a lot of guys that haven't won, but they also have guys that have won and want to get back to winning.
Absolutely.
So like Kane, like Tarasenko.
And this is a rematch from last year, too.
Yeah, so both teams remember what happened last year.
Yeah.
Rangers came out on top.
In 7 games.
So could this be a repeat of this year?
I think it very well could be.
It easily could be.
Because they also ended it in Carolina in Game 7 last year.
Yeah, so anything could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, second round recap, I have the Avs beating the Wild in 6 games.
I have the Stars beating the Avalanche in 7 games.
And then for the next matchup that we predicted is Vegas versus the Oilers, and I have Vegas in 5.
I have Oilers in 6.
Next matchup on the Eastern side, I have Toronto beating Boston in 6.
I have the Bruins beating the Maple Leafs in 6 games.
And for the Hurricanes versus the Rangers, I have the Rangers in 7.
I also have the Rangers in 7 against the Hurricanes.
So we have some different West Finals and East Finals.
So what's your Western Conference Final and what's your Eastern Conference Final?
So my Western Conference Final is the Avs versus Vegas.
Okay, mine's Stars and Oilers, so we're completely different here.
And then Eastern is Toronto versus the Rangers.
I have Bruins versus Rangers. So we're the only team we both have in is the Rangers in the conference final. And this is what's so great about the Stanley Cup playoffs is that we can have this. And I think Gavin's is right, too, along with I think mine's right, obviously. But
I think both
I think
of them
that
have
both
a lot
are
of
very
a lot of potential.
A lot of potential for both of these to be correct. Knowing that I just said that, I think that maybe all the teams that I have in the conference final won't get in now.
And same with me. You never know.
Yeah. So I think in the Western Conference final, I have it's going to be a really good series. The Stars went to the final in the bubble.
They did, and they lost it.
Oilers made to the Western Conference final last year, lost to the Avalanche. So they're kind of hungry. I think they're a little bit hungrier. I have Oilers in 6. I think McDavid's going to carry them to the Stanley Cup final.
Wow.
And I think it's going to be a really good series. I think that the Stars are going to get hot. I think that Jake Ottinger is going to be playing really well in net for them. But I think that he's not going to play well enough to stop shots from Connor McDavid.
And you know what? If I were to predict what you just said for your series, I would say the Stars win 2 at home, and then they don't win anything else.
Really? You think?
If that was on my sheet, that's what I would think.
Mm-hmm. And I have the Oilers, I think, going so far because to end the season, they won 9 in a row.
So they're hot already.
They're hot going into the playoffs. And I think that's what you need a lot of times is you need that momentum boost. I mean, you got Dallas. They've won 6 in a row going into the playoffs. And on the other side, the Bruins, they've won 8 in a row going into the playoffs. So all those teams are really hot right now.
Yeah. For my Western Conference Finals, I have the Avs and the Golden Knights. And I think this is where the Avs have a tough series, but they still overcome it in 7 games. And the Avs are going back to the finals.
Going back to the final, second straight year. That would be I wouldn't mind that either. I like the Avalanche. I think they're a very likable team.
Especially
I think Vegas is a very dislikable team. So I would love if Colorado beat Vegas if they played each other in the finals.
Yeah, I could see that definitely happening. So for the Eastern side, I have Toronto against the Rangers. And in this series, I have the Rangers winning in 7 games.
I also have Rangers in 7 games, but I have them beating the Bruins. I think that the Bruins run ends here in Boston.
I would love that.
And this would mean that the Rangers would win 3 straight Game 7s in my scenario, all on the road.
Wow. Yeah, that's very true.
All on the road, which is a very bold take, but I think that they have the experience to do it. If any team's going to do it, I think it could be them, especially because I think that a theme within my prediction that I think is who's more hungry for the cup.
Yeah.
Who wants it more? And I think that the Oilers and Rangers ultimately want it the most, in my opinion.
Charles, you know what I love about your prediction?
The Rangers winning
And where?
in Boston.
You hear that, Dan? Daniel James Monahan? All right. Shout out to Dan. You're a Bruins fan, but I don't think it can happen this year.
That'd be a great series for you and Dan to watch together.
That would be a great one.
Because we'll be home by then.
We will be home
So
by then.
that'll be very interesting.
If it happens. And I have Toronto. If Toronto makes it, Ian, come on down. We'll have some burgers. We'll enjoy the series. But
yeah,
we'll see. We'll see where this whole playoffs can, because it's all over the board, I think.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Right now, I think we both have different brackets, but I think that they both look pretty good right now. So to recap, in the Stanley Cup final, I have the Oilers and Rangers.
And I have the Avalanche and the Rangers.
So, very similar but different at the same time. Because,
exactly.
I have the Avalanche going out in the second round. Gavin's got them in the Stanley Cup final. Gavin, who do you have winning the Stanley Cup this year?
Genuinely, I have the New York Rangers. No quit in New York, 7 games. That will be one of the greatest finals you guys will ever watch if it happens.
That'd be a great final, and it could have happened last year.
It could have.
I think it's better off happening this year, though, especially with Kane and Tarasenko on the team.
The 2 new additions.
So I think that, while the Avalanche are a little bit banged up right now, I think that would still be an amazing series because I think they could maybe get healthy by then. I'm not sure the timetable.
And that's why I have 7 games because I'm not sure on the timetable. But if it does come back, I could easily see this series going 7 games. Yeah,
that would be a really good one. I also have my series going to 7 games.
Oh, really?
So the Rangers playing the max amount of games that you can play in the playoffs.
You have a long road.
I have a long road for the New York Rangers. In Edmonton, I think they come up short, though. I think that the Edmonton Oilers win at home in Game 7.
Wow.
I think Connor McDavid wins his first cup. I really don't see a way that a team can stop Connor McDavid right now. And if he goes down with an injury, like I said, knocking on wood right now, I hope he doesn't. But if he does, I don't think that the Oilers team stands a chance. So him being that valuable of a player to a team is just insane, and I think that he's going to ride that to a Stanley Cup championship this year.
And here's my thing with my series against the Avs. I think with the Rangers team being hungry, we mentioned Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane. But the thing I'm thinking about is the kid line.
That's a great point, too.
You got Alexis Lafreniere, you got Hedl, and you got Capo Caco. Not to mention, don't forget another young kid on the team, Keandre Miller.
He's been playing really well.
These guys are getting more mature. They're filling in their roles a lot more. I think having great depth this year and having Trouba wear the C on his jersey this year, come on, that'd be a storybook ending for the New York Rangers right there.
So you think Trouba's going to be hoisting that cup come June
kissing
time?
It.
And kissing it, too.
And I will be in the parade if it is there. If the parade...
Yeah, I don't blame you. If I had a team that could potentially win a championship, which I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I guess we'll see. So I'll be rooting for the Rangers in the playoffs, just for your sake,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But I wish that the Buffalo Sabres were there.
And one final wrap-up for my series. I have the Avalanche and the Rangers. I have the Rangers in 7, but this series could go anywhere. I could see
easily
anybody winning within 6 or 7 games. That's the hardest pick I had to do all today. I have the Rangers in 7.
I have Oilers in 7 over the Rangers, winning it at home. Winning Game 7s is hard, but having all 4 in my predictions on the road, but them winning 3, going to the Cup final, I don't think they win 4 Game 7s on the road. In the same playoffs.
It's the best 2 words in sports, Game 7.
Game 7. And I can't wait, and this is going to be a really good playoffs. So thank you for listening. We're going to wrap it up here.
As always, shoot us a DM, a comment in the comments below on our Instagram at Out of Bounds Podcast. There's a dot in between every word.
Yes, there is.
And we hope you guys enjoyed. Please give us some feedback.
Love it.
And enjoy the playoffs. Go Rangers.
I guess, yeah. At this point,
we'll see what happens, and we'll be back with another episode to be determined very soon.
Ooh.
I'm going to keep the audience on their heels right now.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one, though. So thank you for listening. Really appreciate all the support, and have a great day.